Good afternoon, people. It is currently, my clock's an hour slow. I never change my clock back and forward when they go because I don't want to. It's 12:30. So good afternoon. It is Saturday and it will continue to be Saturday until it becomes Sunday. But I have a bunch of films continuing the theme of trying to watch films that I haven't seen, which isn't many, and films that I own that I need to rewatch. With that theme, I went to Buckaroo, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. I've seen this once and I thought, what an absolute load of nonsense. And it is still a load of old nonsense. You got Peter Weller, John Lithgow. It's a science fiction comedy type thing. Peter Weller goes through a mountain and brings back something from the eighth dimension, and then there's aliens and silliness. It's daft as hell, but I didn't mind it this time, which makes me think back to the first time. I may have switched it off because I didn't like it, but I watched it all. I don't mind. It's enough to keep. I liked it enough to keep it. And the same goes for this one. This is Mean Streets, Martin Scorsese film. Not the biggest fan of Martin Scorsese. There's a couple I like, but for the most part, his films don't do it for me. But this is set in Little Italy. Catholic mobster must reconcile his desire for power, for feelings for his lover, and his devotion to his troublesome friend. Harvey Keitel, Robert De Niro. It's very much as you'd expect from a Scorsese gangster type film. The first, 15, 20 minutes I didn't care for, and I thought, should I bother watching this? I thought, yeah, stick it out, and then it's just typical Scorsese. Not a bad film. I liked enough of it to keep it on the shelf for now. It may go in a sleeve to be hidden away if I decide, but for now, it can stay on the shelf. It can go on the shelf. I won't mind looking at that spine. Let me put it that way. Then we have... I'm getting all confused here. Edge of Tomorrow. Now, everyone knows Edge of Tomorrow. Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, they're fighting these monsters. Every time he dies, the day repeats and he gets further and further and further. I thought I didn't like this. My letterbox tells me that I rather enjoyed it the first time, so don't know what I'm thinking of. Bill Paxton's in it, nice to see him. And it's a fun film because films that repeat themselves can get boring. To me, Groundhog Day was boring for years and it became unboring. Then this one, there's a lot going on in this. All IMDb says for it is two grifters team up to pull off the ultimate con. This is The Sting, Paul Newman and Robert Redford. There is a lot going on in this. I think Robert Shaw as well. This is one that everyone should watch. It is incredibly elaborate, and one must pay attention and watch the screen and not do anything else other than watch The Sting. And I liked it. Again, I didn't love it. This is a digibook from years back. Universal 100. How old are Universal now? But yeah, a very, very intriguing film. Now, this one I'd seen once, from The Greatest Year Ever in 1981. Brian De Palma with Nancy Allen and John Travolta. He is a sound recordist, accidentally records the evidence that proves a car accident was actually a murder, and finds themselves embroiled in all this stuff. Almost feels like it could have come out of the 70s, but I've often said to myself, decades bleed into the next decade. Like the 70s will continue for like 2 years of the 80s will continue for like 2 years of the 90s before they establish themselves. I've always thought that. But yeah, very good film, another solid film, of which I'm happy to keep. That is the artwork. That looks absolutely horseshit. I think that's much better. But yeah, another film I enjoyed, and I'm happy to look at it on the shelf. Now this one, Lost in Translation. Watched this a couple of years back, loved it. 10 out of 10 film. Well, yeah, 10 out of 10. It's not. I gave it an 8 out of 10 this time, but I still like it as much. Bill Murray's an actor, faded actor in Japan to advertise a whiskey. And what's her name? Scarlett Johansson's in Tokyo with a husband who's a photographer, so she's left on her own a lot of the time. Bill Murray has a lot of time between advertising this whiskey, and they get together, they form a friendship, and that's the film. Now, what I like most about this film is the vibe. When she's walking around Tokyo, and you see the arcades of Tokyo, and you see how Tokyo looked and sounded, that is what I continue to think about even now. It's fantastic, and I highly enjoy that. Then, for no other reason other than I wanted to, nothing to do with the new one that's come out, which if I ever get a chance I'll watch it, but I'm not massive on The Crow. I can see why people would love The Crow and do love The Crow. Brandon Lee passing away is probably a big thing. But it's too much like a big music video for me. But I was hoping to like it enough to put it back on the shelf. I can look at it, but I don't want to look at it, so it goes back in the drawer because it's okay, not enough to get rid of, but it's alright. It has its moments. Now, this one's a fantastic film. This is, to go back to my video whenever it was, this is a great film. The Artist. All about the transition to talkies. You've got this actor, George. He's a silent movie star. He meets a girl called Peppy Miller. She's a dancer. They get together. However, silent films are being phased out to talkies. He's becoming faded, and it's quite sad to see. The only thing I would say about this, I wish they'd have dirtied the print a little bit, because even the best silent print film, it doesn't look as clean as this. So just age it a tad, but that's not saying anything about it. Fantastic film. Loved it. When John Goodman's not on screen, it feels like it actually is a silent film from the 20s. Then John Goodman comes into it, and I'm thinking, it's a modern silent film. Unlike this one, which is an old silent film. 1930, City Girl. F.W. Murnau, one of my favourite directors. Basic plot of this: a guy is sent to the big city by his father to sell the family wheat. Comes back with the wife. There's your film. There's a lot more to it than that, but a very good film. I prefer this to, I don't know why I'm saying this, but Sunrise. I just prefer this to Sunrise. But yeah, great film. I would call it a great film. Love it. Fantastic film. And this is the last one that I own, I think. Yes. Tremors. I had to watch Tremors. I was in a mood to watch Tremors, and I watched it. It's amazing. 10 out of a 10 film. Love it. And the films that I don't own, I watched the remake of M. Now, I have M. I should have put it over there. Peter Lorre. This has a guy called David Wayne playing the Peter Lorre character. He's a child killer. And then the police are making such a nuisance of themselves. The criminal underworld look for this child killer so they can get on with their usual stuff. If the original didn't exist and this is the only one, I'd be happy. But this is like a 7 out of 10, whereas the original is like a 9 out of a 10. David Wayne was okay, but he's no Peter Lorre. And everything was good for me. It didn't need to be made. Of course it didn't. Probably an American version, but it didn't need to be made. But everything was good. But everything about the original is great. So that was 1951. Then to two films I hadn't seen. No, that's wrong. Ignore that. Strike that. Reverse it. I watched The Rage, Carrie 2. What a load of shit. Constant flashbacks of the first Carrie film just to remind us, hey audience, this is a sequel to Carrie. Don't forget that. Come and watch it. It's got something to do with the original Carrie. It's dog shit. I think I'd rather watch the remake of Carrie than this again. Then a film I hadn't seen for 4 years called Midsommar. And every time I think of Midsommar, I think of The Wicker Man. But every time I think of The Wicker Man, I don't think of Midsommar. This is an overrated piece of shit. This cult is like, I won't say early in the film, but early-ish. You have someone at the top of a cliff and then they jump off. and they hit a big rock, they die, and then someone comes with a great big mallet and smashes the face in, that's already dead. It's like, that's not scary, that's not creepy, that's stupid as fuck. It's like the end of the Wicker Man. You could argue putting livestock and a person into a big straw man for the gods is also stupid, but that has imagery, that has fear. Shit, I'm going in there. Oh my god. This is stupid. This cult, they're not scary, they're not creepy, they're a bunch of fucking weirdos wearing robes. And it's just, people give it 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It's a pile of shit. I give it 0 stars. I give Carrie 2, The Rage, 0 stars. And that is everything I've watched this, I don't know when it is, a week, 2 weeks, whenever the last one was. Comments are welcome.